right with the world again. It's Friday morning. Yeah, there's the impending doom of winter weather in like half of the United States, but we ain't built for that life in North Carolina. 9 a.m. on a Friday. I'm here, Rob Joyce. But so is Megan Gauer. Looked death in the eye, came out the other side, and we got a lot to talk about on a wild Thursday in women's college basketball. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the latest Gauer Hour. Megan, yeah, a lot to update us on. First of all, we'll start Wayback Machine with the before times. How was Disney? How was your half marathon?
Disney was great. A half marathon was fun. I don't think I would run another Run Disney race again, which I think might be a hot take because I think a lot of people like run them like year after year. And I don't know. I just like the getting up at 2 a.m. to run 13 miles is not for me. It's just not an ideal situation.
You don't care like be sitting there going, go.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like exciting because there's all these characters, but then there's like a 20-minute line if you want to take a photo with the character. And I'm like, well, I don't run a 4-hour half marathon. So we didn't really stop.
But yeah, my wife, who does not run, also broke her ankle in September. So super does not run. It's like, yeah, maybe I could run a half marathon. Like it. What?
I mean, I am waiting to hear if I got into the Brooklyn one in May today. So like I did sign up for another one. Just I don't think I would do it at Disney.
You didn't learn your lesson because last time you ran a half marathon, you got the flu.
Yeah.
And I think the two are related.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely somewhat related. And in that, I did not get a lot of sleep and then ran 13 miles and then wandered around Disney with probably a bunch of sick children. And yeah, I got the
flu. Well, you made it. The schedule for the weekend is kind of up in the air, but in theory, there's an important game Sunday between South Carolina and Vanderbilt in Columbia, undefeated Vanderbilt in Columbia. Last week, we spoke with Lulu Kesson of the Gamecocks beat writer. Well, today we'll talk Commodores. 20-0 on January 23rd. Who saw that coming? Not me. Alaina Morris covers all things Vandy for Vandy 24/7. She'll join us in about 35, 40 minutes or so. But we'll start with last night. We'll not talk Vandy, Auburn. Vandy took care of business in the second half. Not the same for South Carolina, who took its first official league loss, because remember that Texas loss in November was not an SEC game, falling in overtime in Norman for an Oklahoma team that certainly needed the victory coming off the back of three straight defeats. What are your thoughts from last night's game?
Yeah, I mean, if you told me 6 games into the SEC season, it would be Vanderbilt and Tennessee tied for first in the league. I don't know that I would have believed you. But yeah, I mean, Oklahoma, I feel like this game was really close back and forth kind of throughout the game. And it doesn't necessarily look that way in the final score. And I think that's just like the result of overtime because they went back and forth, goes to overtime, and then Oklahoma just comes out knocking down shots in overtime, and South Carolina could not keep up at all in that last period.
No, it seems like South Carolina, they didn't get lucky to come back and force overtime, but Oklahoma was like in pretty firm control of that game in the fourth quarter. South Carolina couldn't make anything. They were like 2 of 14 to open the fourth, and then start to get some turnovers. They make a couple shots. They force overtime, and you're wondering, all right, Gamecock's going to steal something here that they probably shouldn't have, and then they just get blitzed in overtime. Credit the response to Oklahoma, because honestly, when the game went to overtime, frankly, 2 games yesterday went to overtime, where I thought, oh, well, team that blew their lead had their opportunity, and they both won. So, I mean, what does this do for Oklahoma? Because they were dipping in the rankings. They're 16th. Mm-hmm. I don't know what their net was going in, but now this certainly, I mean, I still think this is a Final Four ceiling type team. Their net is 11. Yep, 3 games as of last night. So like how much of a resume boost is this? I guess more so the question is how in danger of were they of not being a top 16 seed?
I feel like they weren't that in danger unless it kept falling, right? Like the SEC is tough. Like having a 3-game losing streak, not great, but like with the like level of teams that you're playing, it's also not catastrophic as long as you can like course correct. And obviously this win is quite the course correction, and a win over South Carolina is going to age well no matter what. I mean, happens even if South Carolina goes and loses a couple more games in SEC play, like this is a win that's going to age really well, and I think puts Oklahoma in a, should the wheels not fall off, pretty solid position to host come NCAA tournament time.
Yeah, I mean, credit. I thought this was a complete team effort, one that we hadn't seen in a while. Mm-hmm. The simple, stupid one is shot making matters. Sahara Williams goes 6 of 12. Aaliyah Chavez was in a nasty, nasty slump and busted out of it. basically in overtime because she
Mhm.
wasn't good against who in the 3-game skid. Wasn't good against Ole Miss, 7-22. Wasn't good against Kentucky, 7-23. Was bad against LSU, 3 of 14. Was 3 of 12 yesterday, and then makes 5 of her last 6, and they run away. Uh, Peyton Verholst played pretty well last night, 19 points. Reagan Beers, I don't even think she touched the ball enough. She only had 9 shots, still finished with 18 and 14. When the Sooners play, when they play like this, they're awfully hard to beat. The question
Right.
now is, can you consistently get Zyvan in double figures? Can Chavez turn a corner and be a little more efficient with the ball? Can Sahara Williams keep putting up? She's pretty consistent, but can Peyton Verhulst have more 8 of 15 and less 3 of 14?
Yeah, and then on the flip side for South Carolina, I feel like it's I mean, you've gotta make more shots than they did last night, like, that's really what it comes down to, as simple as that, like, Taniya Latson being 1 for 10 is gonna be tough for the South Carolina to beat teams with. I mean, Raven Johnson was fantastic, 16 points, led the team in scoring. Joyce Edwards was good, but they and Tessa Johnson, but they just needed a little bit more, it felt like, from Latson and everyone else.
I mean, let's have the Latson conversation because she's fine.
Mhm.
She is fine. I think South Carolina's expected more than fine. This is Haley Van Lith. That's all it is. Where
Right.
people think like people talk down on it. It was like a disaster year. It wasn't a disaster year. She was fine. What people expected her to be was an All-American, and she wasn't. And this is
Yeah.
exactly what they're getting from Taniya Latson. A perfectly fine double-digit consistently score for the most part, 15 points a game. That's great. People were expecting All-American, and that's not what they're getting.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's not a perfect fit. She's as you said, she's fine. She's not bad, she's fine. But it's just not the slam dunk like All American that you pick up in the transfer portal and like takes this team to a whole nother level. Like they're not getting that from her. And that was probably a fair unfair expectation, right? Like she came from yeah, she scored 29 points a game or whatever at Florida State, but in an entirely different system.
Her defense has been better. I'll give her
Yeah.
that. It's better than I
Yeah.
thought it would be, which you probably expected Dawn to come in and change that. You know who I've been very impressed by? I asked Lulu last week, like, what Alicia Turnaby's like? Is this like a this year thing? Is this
Mhm.
more like next year in the future? She's good now,
Yeah.
and she's only been there for like a month.
Yeah. This
Yeah,
that's the type of pickup that, like, she's good now, she's gonna be really good come March, like, it's gonna make a big difference for this team.
and she'll be really good next year. And you remember
Yes,
that because remember
yes.
she's 18 and a freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah, you saw where South Carolina, they don't play slow per se. They were 62nd in possessions per 100, but you could
Mhm.
see, obviously, no one's as fast as Oklahoma. You can see if you speed up the Gamecocks, they look awfully uncomfortable because they look more like the South Carolina we're used to now with 6'7" Turnabys, 6'6" Ocott, Joyce
Mhm.
Edwards. That front court depth with one addition suddenly looks like a traditional South Carolina. But you speed them up, they didn't look comfortable being sped up. Um, Mitchell Northam last week had an interesting take on both Texas and South Carolina in that he didn't seem overly high on either one as like winning a national championship. Do you still feel that way? So I feel like South Carolina, yeah, if they cut down the nets.
Yeah. I don't think I'm that far off, like, do I kinda feel like UConn and UCLA are maybe a step above these 2 teams right now? Yeah, but I wouldn't go that far because what are you gonna say? There's only, like, 2 teams that can win a national championship in
I mean, go back 2 months.
January? Like
Right. Go back 2 months when we were saying, UCLA was dead in the water because they
Right.
had one loss. Like, where are we going to be 2 months from now?
Right. Yeah, so I'm not ready to go, like, I'm not out on these teams. I do think it's gonna become interesting should they, like, get to the Final Four and you're up against the UConn and the UCLA because I think both South Carolina and Texas wanna beat you in a 65-60 game. And I think UCLA and UConn score a lot, and I think you saw, fast pace that the high scoring game made South Carolina uncomfortable against Oklahoma. And no, UConn and UCLA don't play as fast as Oklahoma, but like they're teams that are putting up 80 points on the regular, 90 points on the regular, and it's a different style, and it'll be interesting should we get those matchups. But I'm not like out on South Carolina and Texas at this point. I think it's too soon to say that.
Yeah, I agree. The other overtime game yesterday, I almost turned the game off. I was like, I was about to turn the game off. I got distracted and then didn't. And then what do you mean the 17-point game between Iowa and Maryland was down to like 8 with a minute to go? It's like, all right, they still got it. Iowa won the game. We should point out Iowa
Yes.
actually wound up winning the game. It was a very nice win. Insanity that they were up 17 with 3 minutes to go and somehow needed overtime.
Yeah, I feel like this Maryland team is just like the team that like won't quit. You expect them to have some games like this where they're down 17 to Iowa because like they've just lost so much but then
Right.
they fight
Garzone
back
fouled
and
out. Okanawa hadn't had
yeah.
a bad game. It's like, yeah, it happens.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They're down to such a slim margin for error. And like, yes, they lost the game, but to force overtime in that game and like to take Iowa down to the wire like that, like I thought was extremely impressive. I just like continue to be very impressed by this Maryland squad.
I think they're a victim of the scheduling more than anything. What do you make of their resume? Lost at Illinois by 3, tournament team. Ohio State, top 12, maybe top 10 team. Blown out at UCLA. Fine. UCLA's
Yeah.
really peaking. Close loss at Iowa, overtime loss. None of those are bad losses. Their best win is Kentucky. How much is their margin now in terms of hosting?
Hosting could be tough. Like I think you've got to win some of the flip side of those games that are going to come as we get into the second half of the season here. Like I forget who they have twice, but like you probably got to split some of those top games in the Big 10. Um but I don't think they're out of the question. And like you said, they're a bit of a victim in scheduling in that like they've had a really tough start to the Big Ten. Like all those games you've rattled off. Like there's not easy per se games in the Big Ten, but there's easier games for sure. And they haven't had a lot of those yet. So there's wins to come.
That comeback, I think, could prove important because those are all fine losses, double digits at home to Ohio State, 30 at UCLA. It looked like they might lose by 25 last night. Instead, that goes down as a 7-point overtime loss. So,
Right.
metrics wise, I
That
think that
helps a
helps
lot.
them an awful lot. They still have Washington. They're at Michigan State, at Nebraska, at Ohio State, at Michigan. Those are their hardest remaining games. All their home games, they play Washington and Oregon. Home's much easier than road.
Mhm.
Um, they'll get the benefit of the doubt. I think it would just help if they like go beat Michigan State.
Yeah, exactly. Pick up a
Or
couple of those wins in that like massive group of teams of like all sitting around the same area in the Big Ten.
yeah, and you're right. Their margin just Garzone played well until she fouled out. Kendall Walker was probably the only reason they weren't down 30 at one point, and then Okano really struggled. She made the shot to force overtime, but you forget that she was a non-factor before then. Frankly, I've expected a little more from Sailor Poffenbarger this year. She's averaging 10 and a half and 6 rebounds. She led the country in rebounding 2 years ago at Arkansas.
Yeah.
Never been an efficient scorer. I've expected a little more. Iowa side, the team that won the game. It looks bad, right? Like you don't blow a 17-point lead in 3 minutes. I think they're the most underrated team in the country because they're ranked in the top 10. They're 17-2. They're unbeaten in Big Ten play. It's like the second time in 30 years they've ever done it. They have wins already over Nebraska, Michigan State, Maryland, so they haven't played UCLA yet, but I feel like we're sleeping on Iowa a little bit here.
That's fair. I think they're good. Like they're definitely kind of emerging as the top of that like class of Big Ten teams. I think what holds me back on like getting overexcited them is like you think about like the UConn game. And like yes, UConn has made a lot of good teams look bad, but like UConn made them look very bad. And I'm curious to see if UCLA does the same thing. I think there's maybe just like a gap at the top that like stops me from like thinking this is a team that can like go to the Final Four.
This is quite the stretch. They beat Michigan State. They beat Maryland. Now they have Ohio State at home. Then they go west. So USC, I have a question for you about USC later. At UCLA, and even after that, it's Minnesota, Washington, Nebraska. Those are all, that's a stretch of, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight games against tournament teams, if not ranked tournament teams, if not hosting tournament teams.
Right.
Yeah, I mean they're not going to go through this stretch unbeaten. The fact that they still are, I think, is pretty impressive. Especially they're starting to find like little contributions off the bench. Last night it was Journey Houston when Ava Hayden was in foul trouble. Addie Deal, she exploded against Oregon. She hasn't been like otherworldly like I kind of thought she would be, but 8 points Michigan State. She seems to be growing as a freshman, and for a team that doesn't have a whole lot of depth, I think these little pieces off the bench could push them over the top. Oh, my other thought for this game. I love that it was on NBC. 6 o'clock start is brutal when you have a 4-year-old. Brutal.
Yeah,
Can't.
I think it's just brutal for, like, people that have to work too, like, it's, like, hard to get home and, like, get
Yeah,
situated for a 6 p.m. game.
I'm not gonna lie. So the story of the game came in the last 3 minutes in overtime.
Yeah.
Anyways, I came downstairs as Ava Hayden picked up her 4th foul with like 2 minutes to go in the third. So we have a 4-year-old. We have a bedtime routine. It starts at
Yeah.
6. We got bath. It takes a while. We have dinner. It takes them 40 minutes to eat. We watch Thomas and Friends. We have our Doritos. We have bath. We read books. We put on our pajamas. Like, I've got time to watch basketball at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
The flip side is I also don't want to watch basketball at 11. So every
Yeah.
game in the country should cater to me and start at 7:30 Eastern time, and I'll figure out how to watch them all at once. That's my complaint about that. But hey, I like that it was on NBC, kind of randomly.
Yeah.
That's like there aren't 6 o'clock games on NBC every week, are there?
I don't think so. At least none that I can
I'll
recall.
take it. Not as well. It was a close game last night. Not quite as aesthetically pleasing. Tennessee, Kentucky, a game that Kenny Brooks said set women's basketball back 15 years. A bit hyperbolic. I thought the second half was entertaining. The first half we don't need to talk about. But what are your thoughts on a Tennessee team that I know they didn't shoot the ball well last night, but in general, they're starting to look like the Tennessee team that we thought might appear because all of a sudden they're 14-3, and you said it, they're 6-0 in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really nice win for Tennessee. I thought Mia Paldo, sorry, I get their names confused. They're identical and they have, like, the
Yes,
same
Mia
name.
and Maya, and yes.
Um, it was really, really good for them. I think she's, like, really starting to come into her own there, the freshmen in general, just starting to kind of, it seems, click and, like, it takes a little bit as a freshman, I think, to adjust to the college game, and I think you're starting to see that come together for Tennessee with this class. It's a nice win. I mean, like, it's hard to say something bad about someone that's 6-0 in SEC play, right? Like, I don't really care what half of the schedule you've had so far. That's still impressive, and it is a team that feels like it's starting to click at the right time, and I'm really interested to see what they look like against the second half of the SEC slate, and they've got UConn shoved in there too coming up. So, um,
Yeah, they haven't played South Carolina, Texas,
yeah,
Vandy, LSU, but they also haven't played Arkansas 6 times.
right.
Win at Alabama, nice win. Win against Kentucky. They haven't lost since the Louisville game. They're 14-3 with a close loss to NC State on a neutral, UCLA, and Louisville. Those are 2 top 10 teams and a solidly in the field tournament team. They get Ole Miss on Sunday or Monday. Frankly, I expect them to win that game.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, after looking, the vibes were bad. Kim Caldwell was saying we're not ready for SEC play, like the effort, and you and I talked about it, and that seems like a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, they looked ready for SEC play. 6-0 would suggest that they were ready. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a really nice win for them. And then Kentucky on the flip side, I think with Taoniki out, you're just seeing, like, this team has no depth, and it's going to be really hard to win when you get 0 bench points against the Tennessee team and you're missing one of your key starters.
Now, she is gonna return this year. I think I feel like I saw something that said she's on the court. She's not that close, but she's not doing nothing.
Mhm.
I'm glad you mentioned the depth because I was sitting there going, like, she's having a good year, like 11.6.5 rebounds. They've been a mess without her. Like,
Mhm.
if your third best player gets hurt and you're kind of not a disaster, but like Claire Strack's been bad. 3 of 16 Mississippi State, 1 of 13 against Alabama. She wasn't good last night. Let me pull it up real quick. Last night she was 2 of 7. Like, she's getting rebounds, she's getting blocks. That's fine. Like, she's a big shouldn't be going 1 of 13.
I think
like,
you're seeing.
Taoniki the injury. Like, is that the reason? I can't.
I think it's. Oh yeah, it can't be all of it. I think it's probably part of it because she's, like, probably getting more attention in the post defensively with Taoniki out, but Claire Strack has to be better if this team is going to figure it out without I mean, even with they get Key back, like I think Claire Strack has to be better, but then this team just has no depth. So like they can't afford for Claire Strack to have an off night because like there's no one to fill that gap.
The LSU game right now is the outlier. Now, it counts all the same. Win in
Right.
Baton Rouge goes a long way. As for that matter, a win at Louisville, that has aged just beautifully since Thanksgiving.
Right.
So yeah, they're gonna host. They'll be fine, barring some sort of complete collapse. I'm also their end of game plays are just a disaster. Even like Tony Morgan made the shot against LSU. That was a debacle of a play. It wasn't even a play. It was nothing happened for
Yeah.
17 seconds, and she made a shot. Good for her. But last night they had 2 chances.
They
Which
didn't even
Paul
get it in
now
around
see
the
now
second
you
one.
got it in my head.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say Mia Paulo and Paldo, and then
I'm sorry, I messed you up too.
the
No.
SEC tournament is gonna be my nightmare.
Yeah. Trying to
Calling a
call
Tennessee
a
game
Tennessee game,
because
yeah.
I wouldn't even think about it, and now that's all I'm gonna think about. But anyways, yeah, she has the tie up. Then they have a second chance, and they threw the ball through Talasia Cooper's
Yeah,
legs, but
I don't know what they were doing there.
there were some out of bounds plays, sidelines out of bounds plays in the last seconds of games that left a lot to be desired. Because South Carolina had a chance to win it in regulation. I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
They call all these timeouts, which, by the way, some game Sunday, I couldn't tell you. That was a long time ago. You should get 2. You should be able to advance the ball twice and in the last 30 seconds because there's way too many timeouts. Way too many. Unnecessary amount of
Mhm.
timeouts. I get you want to create excitement, blah, blah, blah. Twice, last 30 seconds. None of this minute nonsense. None of this 4
Mhm.
times nonsense. No.
Yeah.
That's all I got from that game.
No, it just makes the end of the game go on for forever. And like,
Yes.
all right. Like and
To
especially
draw,
when the out of bounds plays aren't even good. Like they're not
to draw
even
up,
good
okay,
plays.
get the ball in this person's hands and let them dribble and do something.
Yeah.
Great. Glad good talk, guys. All right, Michigan State USC. I love Kennedy Blair of Michigan State. She had, I don't know what she finished with. In the third quarter, she had like 16, 6, and 5.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on Michigan State? Because I said last week, they don't have an All-American on the roster, but they have a blend of senior talent, Grace Van Sluten, transfer that's hit in Jones, couple of players that have made the leap, Kennedy Blair, the notable one. And then they play a kind of unique style. They pressure the heck out of you. They force turnovers, and they're really good as a team. And that makes up for it when you're playing USC or any of these, pick 3 through 15 in the Big Ten, where yeah, they're probably on a talent level on the same page or same level as most of these teams, but as a team, they're closer to the top than they are in the middle.
Yeah, this is a team that's impressed me for kind of exactly the reasons you laid out. When you go and like look at them in the preseason, you're kind of like, I don't necessarily see the vision for this to be like a top 15 team with like the talent on this roster. But as you said, like it's just been able to come together as a team and like make it work with the pieces that they have and be in that top group of the Big Ten outside of like UCLA, because UCLA is in its own little tier. But then there's this like whole tier of everyone else, and that they're very much fighting to be at the top of. And I think it's been really impressed with their ability to like keep getting some of these wins and establish themselves in the top of that group instead of in the middle or the bottom of the group, because I think there easily could have been a world where Michigan State was at the bottom of that group instead of the top.
Yeah, another final loss for USC. Credit them for battling back in both halves. It looked like early that could get away from them. Looked like Michigan State took control of that game at times in the second half and came back. Saw the front court issues again. You're down 2 with 2.5 minutes left. Don't give up 2 offensive rebounds. That leads to a Blair and 1. That's the dagger. But yeah, USC lost on the road. I have a question for later for you for
Okay.
USC. It's called a tease. Other Thursday games, Ohio State, Indiana. I turned that on. I didn't quite expect it. What do you make of Ohio State? Because just like Michigan State, they're rolling. That's 7 in a row now. 2 top 10 wins, and they head to Iowa on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the Iowa Ohio State game because I feel like in terms of teams that I've kind of seen like try to, I think, put themselves in like a very clear top of that like group of Big Ten teams. To me, it's like Iowa and Ohio State right now that are the front runners. So I'm very interested to see how like that game goes. I don't really know who's gonna win it, but I think it's gonna be a really good one. But yeah, Ohio State's rolling here. I feel like they had got off to a little bit of a rough start, and then maybe just like that UConn game in particular I'm thinking of was really bad, but like they've certainly gotten it together and like are clicking at the right time.
We'll talk about UConn next week because they play Tennessee, but we
Yeah.
don't. UConn doesn't give us reason to
Yeah.
talk about them a whole lot. Monday was a long time ago, but we can talk about Notre Dame if you want. UConn doesn't need the reputation, the resume
Right.
booster, right? And it was a long time ago. What they did to Louisville, I know it was the opener. What they did
Yeah.
to Ohio State, what they did to Iowa. If you want to count what they did to Notre Dame, because that's a tournament team.
Yeah, they
They're
make
good at basketball.
yeah, basically everyone they play look like they're like just another Big East team, and it's not. These teams are not just another Big East team. They're much better than that.
Yeah, they get off to such fast starts
Mhm.
that like there's no playing with their food. I know like the Michigan game, if that was 41 minutes, they might have lost that game. It was an 18 19 point
Yeah,
lead at one point. Like they race out of the gates. They don't screw around. Or if they do, it's the third quarter, and then Gino makes Sarah Strong and Izzy Fudd play in the fourth because he's mad at them, like last time.
yes.
But yeah, when you come out and you see it's 11-0 out of the gates, 12-2, don't have to watch UConn today.
Yeah, exactly. It's over before you even get to switch it on.
Yeah, unless you're Michigan, who got hot and made it a game, and no one else has been able to do that. We'll see if Tennessee can withstand an early punch, and then because I mean, obviously they have the capability if they get hot
Mhm.
to shoot their way back into a game.
Right.
Indiana, before we move on from Ohio State, Indiana, not in the tournament picture. They're 0-8 in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I think they and Florida are just victims of their conference. They have brutal conference records. Just like I'm going to pull up Indiana's schedule. They lost Minnesota. They lost to Michigan State. They lost to Maryland. They lost to Nebraska. They lost to Iowa, Washington, Ohio State. None of those none of those are
None of those are bad
those are 8
losses.
tournament teams.
Yeah.
And 5 points at Nebraska, 3 to Iowa. They do have a handful of handy losses in there, but like put them in the ACC, put them in the Big 12.
Probably a different
They're right on the
story.
bubble. Like same with Florida. Florida, I think, won their first conference game. They're 1-5 in the SEC. They almost beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
Just unfortunate circumstance that they're in the Big Ten because they're non-factor this year. Although Shea Chesky's having an incredible season. Don't discount. It's a lost year in Bloomington. Don't discount what she's done. She's been spectacular all year.
Yeah.
And then ACC briefly. When you update bracketology, did you do that?
This weekend. It'll be updated this weekend, and then it'll
Okay.
be routine. We're suffering from the trying to get caught up at work after unexpectedly being out for like 3 days with the flu.
Miami's played their way out of it, right? They've
Yeah.
lost 4 or 5. Clemson, not a great loss. The others are explainable, but they don't have. I'm trying to see what's their best win. Davidson, which
Yeah.
fine
It's
win, but
not a bad win, but it's just it's not enough.
and then what do you make of Notre Dame? I think we've just have we settled on they're just a middle of the pack tournament team, which
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's where I'm at.
200 teams would take that.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're a middle of the pack tournament team, but just like what if I was looking at a bracket in March, would not want to see in my bracket because you still have to play head-to-head doggo, and that's tough to have to face as like it'd be like a 7 seed, and you could have to play head-to-head doggo, and that's a tough place to be in.
Fair enough. Wednesday, quickly, another team who I don't think will make the tournament, but I mean, Wisconsin has quite the little resume here. They have 2 quad 1 wins, and Michigan State, Nebraska, they have 3 quad 1, quad 2 wins. They also have a quad 3 and a quad 4 loss. Don't get got by the Badgers because they're going to ruin some people's seasons.
Yeah, I agree. I think their path to a tournament spot is an uphill battle, especially with a quad 4 loss. That's tough. They need some more quad 1, quad 2 wins to offset that. But yeah, a team that there's a lot of Big Ten teams that could be on the bubble, and Wisconsin loss is not going to help you.
No, I mean, they're far ahead of schedule in year 1 under Robin Pinston. got stale for whatever reason at Missouri. It happens after 14, 15 years. Goes to Madison. They've already matched last year's win total with 13. Haven't been above 500 since 2011. That could change this year. They went to 5 tournaments in the 90s and early 2000s, and that's it, aside from a quiet exit in 2010. They're not going to get there this year. All the credit to them, though, because next year now, this is a nice platform being set up.
Yeah.
And then quickly Wednesday, Oregon, Minnesota might be the most impactful result from Wednesday. Tell me if I'm wrong, because the Gophers picked up an important bubble win, and the Ducks are very much trending downward.
Yeah. A nice win for Minnesota. I think Minnesota's one of those teams that's certainly hovering around on the bubble, and this is a nice win for them to kind of push them to the right sides of this. But yeah, Oregon. This feels like very similar to Oregon. I don't know what year it was, but like a few years ago where they were like nice and high on the net, but like just couldn't win these games in conference play and like missed the tournament. And I don't know that I'm going to say that right now that they're going to miss the tournament, but they're not trending in the right direction.
No, they are 14-7. They've lost 4 in a row. They were up 16 at home to Michigan State and lost. They lost at Iowa by 8 in a game that they were kind of behind early, played catch up, couldn't make up for it. Lost at Wisconsin in double overtime. Badgers ruined someone's season. And then at home on Wednesday to Minnesota by 5. Wisconsin, we just gave them credit. That's probably not a great loss for the resume. Everything else is explainable, but their best win is USC, which is a fine win. I think my take last week was Oregon misses the tournament, and they haven't done anything to prove otherwise since then with a couple of losses. Quickly, before we get to the Big 12, Rhodey Davidson. So Rhode Island, they're 17-2. They're 8-0 in the A10. They beat Davidson. I think the Wildcats, they have 7 losses. They're a good team. That's too many losses for a mid-major.
Yeah.
Are we here with Rhode Island?
I think so. I think they're
at large.
I think they're an at-large team at this point. I think these other teams that are struggling in the major conferences are doing them a favor. Like in Indiana, for example, and some of these other teams that are just like not going to be in the picture. I think Rhode Island's got the resume. Like, don't lose a quad 4 A10 game, but like you can trip up against a Richmond or someone and make the tournament.
My apologies. They're 16-2. They are still 51st in the net, right in front of Fairfield. They're actually Richmond's the highest A10 team in the net. And there's a couple of big A10 games this weekend. George Mason is still undefeated in the league. So A10 basketball. If you missed out last year, don't miss out this year.
Right.
Other games Wednesday, West Virginia, Arizona State. Let's actually talk Texas Tech, because since we last spoke, Texas Tech now has 2 losses. Coming back down to earth for the Red Raiders. I think they were flying too close to the sun. Great story. Credit where it's due. I don't think this is a hosting caliber team. And now they're starting to just kind of maybe regress to the mean a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, they're still a tournament team, which is
a
huge win for Texas Tech, right? Like we're talking about a program that I forget what they won last year, but like we haven't been talking about Texas Tech on this podcast.
Sure, probably on the hot seat.
Yeah. So it's still a great season brewing there, but yeah, I think they've just kind of come back down close to the more where they are at.
Yeah, I said last week they kind of played with their food against Cincinnati and Houston. Don't do it against K-State. Mm-hmm. And what happened? Well, they didn't play with their food. They got bullied for 40 minutes. They got out-rebounded by 26. Fourth quarter of that game was actually incredible theater. It was low scoring, but the shot making in the fourth was phenomenal. And then Wednesday, 33%, 21 turnovers. You're not going to win on the road at good teams in BYU. Give me BYU's resume. Them and Arizona State are in the. I guess Arizona State's gotten more hype because they got off to a hot start.
Yeah,
BYU, I think it's just
they quietly have like a bubble caliber resume there. I'm so out on like the Big 12 in general right now. Like none of these teams are all that good. But no, BYU. Let's see. I'm looking at it right now. I mean, obviously the Texas Tech win is a nice one. And a win over Arizona State. Your losses are Vanderbilt. Not a bad loss. TCU by 24, but still not a bad loss. Arizona, that one's not great. And Baylor. So outside of that Arizona loss, all good losses. I feel like they just need some more wins. Like right now, your best wins are Texas Tech and Arizona State. There's no like jump off the page win here yet.
But there's a lot of not great outside of TCU, but a lot of good wins on the table in
Yeah.
the Big 12 that you can get. Baylor, West Virginia, Arizona State. I'm missing teams off the dome. Iowa State.
I guess.
Yeah, like all these are gettable and would be quality quad
Right.
1, quad 2 wins. That they're not unattainable. And then the Texas Tech one they're 31 on the net, so that'll probably stay quad 1 the whole time. Yeah, I like BYU. They're just quietly doing their thing. And then who I like in the Big 12, out of all the teams outside the hosting picture, realistically, the team I'd want to play the least in the second round is West Virginia. Grinded out 10-point win over Arizona State. That was always going to be low scoring because Arizona State doesn't score either. But man, West Virginia, they make you play their style of basketball. And like they're not going to be more talented, but man, they drag you into the mud. And are you willing to play and get dirty?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It's not a team I would want to have to play in the tournament.
Yeah. One more quick question. Our guess is in the chat, but quickly, Arizona State. I think there's still work to do here. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think they need some more wins. That's the struggle of like playing and we've talked about for this is a program right that didn't win a lot of games, period, in the last few years. So like to be in the position that they are in where we're even talking about them as a tournament team is a huge step forward. But yeah, there's still work to do. The problem with playing kind of the weak non-conference schedule is like it does put a lot of pressure on you to win games in conference play because you need those wins to stack up against the teams in those conferences that are getting those wins, but then also to stack up against a team like Rhode Island, for example, that like picked up quad 1 wins in non-conference play.
We'll talk about almost perfect timing. We just recapped the whole week. Big game Sunday. Theory, I just got a winter. Hey, I got an alert, a winter storm warning. Did you know a winter storm's coming? However, we will talk Vanderbilt basketball. Alaina Morris of Vandy 24/7 will join us next. All right, joining us from Nashville, covering all things Vanderbilt, not just women's basketball for Vandy 24/7. Alaina Morris, follow her on X at Alaina Morris. Alaina, good morning. Thanks for getting up a little early Central Time. How are we doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, we're great. We're thriving. We're waiting for winter to come. This Vandy team last night win over Auburn, close at halftime, business-like in the second half, win comfortably. 20-0. Every under Shea Ralph, we've seen growth from the team. Frankly, I'll be honest, I was down on the team in the preseason. I was obviously very, very wrong. No one really expected 20-0. Did you expect them to be this good, though?
Yeah, I think a lot of people might have been a little down on them just given the, production that left the team last year. I think I was probably a little bit more high on them than more people were. Obviously, I have a little bit more of a different view, being able to see things more closely, but I don't think I expected 20-0 at this point in the year.
Michaela Blake's, obviously so good as a freshman, but she's really picked up kind of right where she left off last season in her sophomore year. Where do you think she's grown the most in her sophomore season?
Honestly, it's interesting for me because I felt like last year she was the primary ball handler, and that's just not the case this year. And so being able to see her move without the ball and create her own shot in that way, and felt like last night, she had a tougher night getting going, but they ran plays for her to, cut, get open to the basket, and just being able to do things without the ball is the biggest thing in my opinion. And I think a lot of that is just due to Aubrey Galvin coming in and being a true point guard. And Michaela's talked about being able to play a combo guard is what she's wanted to do, and Aubrey's, been the reason for that.
Yeah, it leads us right into not a top 100 recruit, lightly heralded out of Illinois. Where the heck did this kid come from?
Yeah, she has been phenomenal. I know she was not in the ESPN top 100 or anything, and Shea Ralph has talked about it a lot. A lot of people said that she was undersized, not big enough to play in the SEC, and I think she said the other day, she's like, I thought that too, and then I went to her high school game, and it took me about 2 minutes to know that I wanted her on my team, and so she definitely plays a lot bigger than she is, but just the way that she sees the floor, it's so fun to watch.
Blake and Galvin, obviously both underclassmen, but how valuable has it been to have the couple of seniors in Sacha Washington and Justine Pissot neither were big role players last year. I mean, Washington missed all of last season, but now they're kind of starters putting up important numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's been huge. Not having Sasha last year, there were games that were close, but they weren't able to come out with, a win, probably because they didn't have the size to rebound. And Sasha provides that. I mean, she had a double-double last night with 18 and 12. And then Justine Passat, like, her development from last season to this season is big. And she'll tell you it's because she's defending better and rebounding. And, everyone, I feel like since she's been in college, has seen her shooting ability, but she's starting to do the other things now. I think she's also become a much better passer. It's probably part of her game that people aren't talking about her enough, but the development she made over the summer is a big reason too why Vanderbilt's in this position.
Megan and I both followed Shayra for a while. Megan went to UConn from Connecticut, so we followed her basically since she was a player, then an assistant under Gino. This seems surprising basically to everyone but her. Is that the sense you get, that they're doing what she expects them to do now that she's in year 4, year 5?
Yeah. I mean, if you ask her, she'll just tell you, like, this was my vision from the beginning when I got this job. Like, I want to win championships here, conference, national, whatever it might be. I think she kind of knew it was going to take a little bit longer, just given where Vanderbilt was when she took over. But it really doesn't seem like a surprise. I think she last night was kind of appreciative of the fact that they were 20-0, and she's not taking these kind of things for granted, but it doesn't sound like she's not confident at all. And I think she knows that her team has what it takes to be in this position, and they'll just continue to get better, the longer she's there coaching and continuing to get these kind of players in like Michaela Blakes that are game changers.
The Michigan game on Monday, obviously Vandy nearly blew that big lead, but came out on the top. What were Shay's kind of takeaways, lessons from having to win a big marquee game like that with a lot of eyeballs on it? Probably the first time Vanderbilt's been kind of in that like top 10 matchup situation, but then also from letting a comfortable lead then slip away down the stretch.
Yeah. Well, first of all, by no means did I think that Vanderbilt had that game locked up at halftime. I know you mentioned following UConn. You watched them play UConn and how that went. It felt very similar with Michigan just making a big push in the second half. So I kind of expected maybe like they weren't going to give up at halftime by any means. I mean, the first thing she really said after the game was we wouldn't have won without Aubrey Galvin. And that's the truth, because Michaela Blakes was having a seemingly off day for her. And so there were foul trouble as well with her and Justine Passat. But I think the other thing that she felt, allowed them to win was the bench, the two girls that came off the bench, Jada Brown and Ayanna Mitchell. And that's another reason they've been doing so well this year, is those two have been in the program their entire collegiate career, and they've developed well under her. And so it wasn't, Blakes or Passat or Washington in this game. It was Aubrey Galvin, your freshman, who put up her career high 20, and then the two players, Brown and Mitchell, coming off the bench. And so I think for her, it was more so we have the ability to win these games even when Michaela's not doing well, and that tells me what I need to know about my team.
Is there a belief building here? The non-conference, it wasn't great, and it picked up some nice wins. Virginia's a fine win, but you beat LSU. Now you take a punch on a neutral floor and beat Michigan. Is there a belief there that maybe wasn't there earlier this year? Maybe this belief was there. I mean, you've been around the team the whole year. Maybe this was there from the start. You tell me.
For them, definitely. I mean, if you were to ask them at the beginning of the year, like Shea Raff would tell you, like, my goal is to compete for championships. Like, I have heard that message since November, and I heard it yesterday. I mean, that's something that she has, stood tall in, that they believe that they have the ability to compete. And, the longer that the year has gone on, the more I've understood why she's been able to say that. I mean, their non-conference until, the Michigan game, but that's not till January. Yeah, it wasn't the best. Virginia, BYU, those are fine games. Those are solid teams, but they're not your Michigans or whatever you want to, look at. But after they had beaten LSU, I was like, okay, they have the ability to really compete this year, because that game was kind of the one I would circled and been like, all right, this is going to tell me what I need to know about Vanderbilt. And, LSU just obviously one of the best teams in the country in most recent years too. And so with that win, I was like, all right, I understand what she's saying. And I saw the belief there all along, but for me, it was the eye test kind of thing and the measuring stick. And then of course the Michigan game as well.
South Carolina on Sunday, or at least we hope with this weather. It's January, so the result one way or the other isn't really the end all be all. for this team, but what would a win over the Gamecocks do?
I mean, for me, at least for me, I think right now Vanderbilt's an Elite Eight caliber team, but if you win at a place like South Carolina, then I can officially be like, all right, you're a national championship contender, you're a Final Four contender, like you're going to be there in that last weekend. You're going to make it to. You have the ability to make it to April. I think it's not. It's honestly, it feels like another measuring stick, as weird as that sounds, because LSU was at home, Michigan was a neutral site. All right, here's your first true away game in a tough environment. Let's see how you handle that. And then also just gives you some confidence. I mean, South Carolina, with everything they've done under Don Staley recently, is incredibly impressive, but it's going to take a lot for them to go in and win that game, especially given that they lost to Oklahoma and they're not going to be super happy rolling into Sunday. And so I think that makes it a little bit more interesting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question. You cover all Vandy sports, right? Not just women's basketball. How long? A couple of years now, right?
Yes.
Go back to Shea's first year. Women's basketball is coming off a year in which they shut things down after 8 games because of COVID. Didn't sniff the tournament for basically a decade. Men's basketball was coming off a 9-win season. Football couldn't win an SEC game no matter how hard they tried. I mean, now look at the program. Why the turnaround at Vanderbilt Athletics?
I mean, I think that if you listen to any of the coaches talk, they give immediate credit to the leadership with the Chancellor Dearmeyer and Candace Storey, the athletic director, just the investment that they put into it. With football, they're trying to give them the resources now. They're working on building a new facility for them. With basketball, they opened a brand new practice facility last season, and I got to tour it. And I mean, I'd argue it's one of the best facilities in the country. They're pouring money into it. The football stadium's upgraded. They have coaches that have bought into we can win at Vanderbilt. I mean, Clark Lee, he played football there. And so he's, turned his program around. And then you have Shea Ralph and Mark Byington, who both took their team to the NCAA tournament last year, and they're looking to do it again this year. And so it's, the coaches believe they can win at Vanderbilt. And then, the leadership is also investing in them to make sure they have the resources and the ability to do that.
They're smart too. Vanderbilt. Yeah. You didn't know that. Where can we find you? Plug your stuff. Do all that good stuff.
Yeah, on Twitter, it's at Alaina M. Morris. You can follow me there for Vanderbilt football, basketball, things like that. I have some work on Instagram too, at Alaina M. Sports, but mainly all of my stuff is on Twitter.
Alaina Morris, good stuff. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Our thanks to Alaina Morris of 24/7 for joining us. We'll start. We'll go out of chronological order. We'll start. We're already talking about it. South Carolina, Vandy. Assuming the game happens, how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I do think, to Elena's point, like this game got more interesting with like South Carolina coming off the loss. Like there was a lot of hype around this game. It's gonna be a top 5 matchup, all of that. But now South Carolina's coming off a loss, and they're gonna be out for blood, maybe a little bit more than they would have been. They're at home. They don't lose at home a lot. I expect South Carolina to win this game, but I think Vandy's going to hang around. Like, I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
Connecticut kid.
So, yeah.
I'm curious, assuming they play this game Sunday at 1, early afternoon, 3 o'clock, regardless, Sunday, mid-afternoon. If they play it, how full is CLA?
Good point. That's a good point.
Just
I already saw that. I think like Richmond, George Mason already said like
no fans.
Yeah, there's a bit of that home court advantage might go away with this storm.
Right. Even if it's 15%, if it's just a little less daunting, I wonder how much of a factor that is. I feel like this is a big Sasha Washington game. Ayanna Mitchell, who you heard Alaina talk about. Need Mitchell, need Jacqueline Menentwanda to play well, need Sasha Washington to play well. Because I don't think South Carolina is going to let Blakes and Galvin get what they want. Maybe Justine Bissott making a couple of threes early will help. So these role players, because Blake's largely going to get hers, right? Galvin's getting to the point where she's kind of going to control the game in the way she does. But if Washington and Mitchell and Menentwanda just get abused inside, I don't see Vandy winning. If they just hold their own, then absolutely, they can absolutely win the game. Yeah. We'll go chronological now. Back to Saturday. Again, the Saturday slate's decent. Nebraska, Illinois. This is like the ultimate middle of the pack Big Ten.
Yes.
Huskers, even after Wisconsin lost, they're okay. They're 21st in the net. They are 0-4 in quad 1 games, 1-2 against quad 1, quad 2. So they're not in danger of missing the tournament if they could just use one of these wins. More of a trust thing than anything. I have 2 quad 1 wins, or I'm sorry, 2 quad 2 wins. One of them might have changed overnight. Regardless, I think I need to see it a little bit more with Nebraska. Illinois is a good chance to do it. These are just 2. You tell me if I'm wrong. They're in the tournament. They're not bubbly. They're just they're probably not gonna host. They're just chilling.
Yeah, I think so. I would say that for both. I'd like to see Vanderbilt, or not Vanderbilt, I'm really struggling here. Nebraska pick up a quad win somewhere along the way. Because I feel like you can start to get bubbly if you have all the opportunities that a Big Ten team has to pick up a quad 1 win, and you don't. But I think they're both in comfortably right now.
And then it feels like a gut check game for Texas Tech. They're at Utah Saturday. We talk about the mountain trip. It's not fun, especially now that there's 3 of them in the Big 12. It's not just Utah and Colorado. It's BYU. Well, Utah can shoot the ball. They always have. Ask TCU. Huntsman Center is not a fun place to go. When you're in a shooting funk like Texas Tech has been, that seems like very much, trap game's probably the wrong term because there's not a big game looming. Just gut check time for Texas Tech. Don't let it snowball. That's what I'm saying. Is Utah another team? I know you said you're down on the Big 12. They're kind of like, they're not as top heavy as the Big 10, obviously.
Yeah.
They're a step below. There's a good chunk of teams here, though, that are just 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seeds that are good.
Yeah, agreed. There's a good chunk of teams that are going to be in the tournament that are in that middle mix there. TCU is going to host. Beyond that, no one's even competing for this spot in the hosting.
Not Baylor?
Maybe. Okay. Maybe Baylor. But Iowa State with this 5-game loss streak. Well, I think they won this week, but regardless,
they beat Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Got revenge in that quad 4 game.
They did lose to Cincinnati, so anything could have happened. But yeah, I just down on them a lot. But just in general, we're not talking about a lot in the hosting sphere for the Big 12.
No, but don't look now, Baylor. Since that crazy comeback against Oklahoma State, that sparked a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7-game win streak.
Yeah,
with 4 on the road: Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Utah, BYU.
No, Baylor's not good on the door. They're not good on the door.
BYU, West Virginia could be fun. Certain kind of fun. Game on Saturday that can get ugly, but in a good way, a fun way. And then is Villanova going to St. John's? Is that a potential trip up spot for the Wildcats? What do they need to do? Because sure, they lost by UConn. 49 points is a lot of points to lose.
Yeah, it is a lot of points. I try not to get hung up on the UConn result for Villanova too much because we just talked about look what UConn just did to Notre Dame, look what they've done to Ohio State. UConn makes a lot of teams that are not bad teams look bad. But Villanova needs to win these other Big East games, correct? If they're going to make the tournament. The thing with the Big East is you don't have the what if we, yeah, sure, you could go win the conference tournament, but your odds of winning the conference tournament are very, very low. So the at-large resume is really, really important. And Villanova could just make things easier on themselves if they win these Big East games that are not UConn.
And then I had one other game I was going to shout out: UC San Diego and UC Irvine, because they were supposed to be both unbeaten in Big West play. And then UC San Diego got last night by UC Davis at home. So they're not both unbeaten. Still, it's a fun game if you're looking for a low mid-major game. Sunday, we talked about South Carolina Vandy. That's the marquee. Iowa, Ohio State. If you're Ohio State, I know last night they got just absolutely boat raced in the first quarter, settled themselves, ultimately win. Fairly wasn't overly in doubt in the last few minutes against Indiana. You probably feel like you're on top of the world. And frankly, you're going to turn on tape today and see the final 3 minutes of the Maryland game with that pressure and go, oh boy, let's play Iowa now. Let's do it. How do you not lick your lips?
Yeah. Yeah, this should be a fun one. I'm excited about this one. Yes, South Carolina Vandy is clearly the the like highlight of Sunday, but this is a close second.
I was generally taking very good care of the ball this year. They just have two very high profile instances of not doing that. 26 turnovers against UConn, and then last night's just absolute meltdown in the final 3 minutes, which they overcame and won. I have to remind myself they won the game on the road at Maryland. Nice win. That'll be very fun. Kentucky, Georgia. I don't know what on earth to make of Kentucky. They beat Oklahoma. They lose handily or they lost to. They scraped by Florida. Who they lose to? They lost to someone. Oh, they got blown out at Alabama. They're not blown out, but non-competitive in the fourth quarter. Wide range of spectrums with Kentucky, but I mean, how can you not be impressed by Georgia, what they did on Sunday against Ole Miss?
Yeah. I was shocked by that result. I don't know if it says more about Ole Miss or Georgia, but yeah, I mean, why not go knock off Kentucky next?
I said Georgia wouldn't win 19 games when they were 14-3. I'm off to a bad start with that one because they beat Ole Miss. I mean, they kicked the crap out of Ole Miss, and I didn't see it coming. Danny Carnegie was really good last year at Georgia Tech. Now she's doing her thing at Georgia. Yeah, watch out, Kentucky. Kentucky's not impressed me for basically since the LSU game. So they're very much on upset alert. And then Michigan, USC. We'll start with the Michigan side. How do you feel about Michigan as a Final Four contender? It's been a bit since we talked about them.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have any like bad losses necessarily. It feels like they're a little bit like. I think we got really high on them at the beginning of the year because like they fought back against UConn, right? Like made that a game. They had a bunch of wins, and like going into the season, I was like, they're probably still like a year out from like Final Four team. They're like just kind of young. And then I like watch back on that with the way that they played against UConn. And I mean, they just had it really close with Vanderbilt, who is a team I think that were like, maybe could be a Final Four team. But I feel like for some reason I'm just like a step behind on Michigan still. I'm not sure that they're quite there.
Close losses to UConn and Vandy in games, identical scores, 72-69.
Yes.
Had a chance to tie both those games in the last seconds and games that look like they'd be blowouts. So my question is, why do they dig themselves 18-point holes?
Right.
So they're little inconsistent offensively. Obviously, a world of talent, and when they get going, they can beat anyone. They just feel more vulnerable than others if they don't get going. So if you put them in the Final Four, I'd blink a little bit. And if you have them losing in the round of 32 versus like a 6 or a 7 seed, again, I'd blink a little bit, but I wouldn't doubt you on either end of the spectrum. Like I wouldn't overly question it. So the answer probably lies in the middle. They're very much different style, but of the Kentucky mold of there's a wide range of possibilities with how this season goes.
Yeah. I think like most likely they end up being a second weekend team and they don't make it to the Final Four, but yeah, I think there's, as you said, a wide range of how it could go.
All right, you ready for my USC question?
Yes.
They are 11-8. Top 5 strength of schedule. No bad losses, any of those 8. They head to Michigan and they're home to Iowa before their schedule lightens up in February. Their net is very good. I'm just saying, are we sure USC is making the tournament?
I think the answer is no right now. And like you said, tough strike of schedule, obviously a schedule that was made with the thought that Juju Watkins would be on the floor.
When they played South Carolina, when they played UConn,
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think it's a guarantee right now. I think usually kind of 20 wins is that number. Like that doesn't feel guaranteed right now. So I think it's something to keep an eye on. I'm not going to say right now that like, yes, they're going to miss it, but it's definitely not a sure thing that they make it.
No, if they're 11-10 in that, again, if they lose at Michigan and they lose at home to Iowa, they will be 11-10 at the end of January. They will get 5 bottom feeders in the Big Ten. So that's 16 wins, but they become must wins.
Yeah.
This is very much Oregon, the Oregon team you referenced from 2, 3, 4 years ago, whatever it was, where they're going to be top 20 in the net. And at some point, having 14 losses, 15 losses has to matter. Right. Yeah, it sucks that you know Juju got hurt and you scheduled UConn and you scheduled South Carolina and you scheduled all these non-conference teams. Well, and should you be punished for scheduling a hard non-conference? That's a whole debate across all of college sports. Well, at some point, wins have to matter.
Right. At some point, you have to win games, and yeah, if you can't, I think their strength of schedule helps them in that, like, if they're like usually, like I said, usually 20 wins is about the number. Like if they're 19, like maybe they sneak in because of the schedule that they played. But like when you start talking about a team that ends with like 17 wins or something, like it's kind of hard to make a case.
And they have some fine wins, but NC State, Notre
Mhm.
Dame, and Washington might be ranked. Those are fringe top 25 teams. So is Nebraska. None of these are mind-blowing wins, and they had
Right.
opportunities. You lost at Notre Dame by 2. You lost at Minnesota by 1. You lost
Yeah.
at Oregon by 5. A game that you were winning in the fourth quarter, and then they ended on a 14-2 run. You had Maryland at home an opportunity. Last night, you had that Michigan State game in hand. This is obviously a tournament caliber talent team. If
Mhm.
they made the tournament, they would probably win a game and they'd be in a game. They wouldn't get blown out. But at some point, start winning these games and make it a lot more
Yeah.
difficult on yourself.
And I think the thing that starts to happen too is like you just talked about like an Oregon and about a like Minnesota, like those are other teams that are going to be on the bubble. And head to head doesn't matter a whole lot. But when it's does USC make the tournament or Minnesota make the tournament and like Minnesota has the head to head win, like that stuff starts to matter.
Yeah, that's a good point. Other games Sunday, Virginia, NC State, George Mason and Richmond. You mentioned there are no fans there. That kind of sucks. But the Patriots are 8-0 in the A10 with Rhode Island. They've won 7 straight. Richmond has the best overall record out of anyone in the A10. Mason's probably outside of the picture right now because their net is 67 and they have 6 losses.
Yeah.
That's too many. Just like last year, they can just wreak some havoc, go win the whole darn thing, and then you're talking like George Mason wins the A10. There's a strong possibility we have a 3-bid A10.
Yeah. I think Rhode Island is firmly in. Richmond a little more bubbly to me, but like certainly has a case. So
A10 basketball.
yeah.
What are you doing?
I would love to see them get 3 teams.
Monday, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Show me, Ole Miss. Very impressive Texas, Oklahoma trip. They beat up a good Mississippi State team. Coach Yo got all in her feelings about their rankings, and then they no-showed at Georgia to not justify that. Lost by 23, and frankly, it wasn't that close. I still don't know what this team is. I have no idea. They have Tennessee and Vandy next to. They probably split, and they're fine. If they win both, it's one conversation. If they lose both, maybe it's a different one. I don't know. It's January 23rd. I have no idea how good Ole Miss is.
Yeah, they're very variable. There's that loss to Georgia in there, and then there's like a really good win in there too. And it's like, yeah, you don't know which one you're gonna get.
Yeah, Tuesday, Utah, West Virginia, the best game. Wednesday, Maryland, Washington. I might be calling this game on radio for the Huskies. I found that out 12 hours ago. So I'm driving to Maryland after a snowstorm or an ice storm.
Fun.
So, Texas Tech, Iowa State. Quickly, your Iowa State thoughts. Congrats on beating Cincinnati. I know Addie Brown's hurt. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, fine. Addie Brown's hurt. You can't lose 5 games in a row to this slate of teams that they lost 5 games in a row to. I'm out on them until they like totally turn it around. I don't know. Like I'm very out on them right now.
Yeah, it was non-competitive at Oklahoma State. So like it's fine to lose at Oklahoma State. That's a
Right.
Don't lose by darn near 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't really in it. I mean, the defense just isn't good, and that hasn't changed. What did we say after the Iowa game? I said I needed to see it for like play 20 minutes of good defensive game, and they'll be okay. Oh, they haven't.
They don't do that. Yeah.
BYU Texas Tech is Wednesday, so yeah, Texas Tech has the mountain trip, and then I mean, just ripping through A10, Davidson, George Mason. So Davidson, Rhode Island, George Mason, Richmond, they're all playing each other or have played each other this week. And that leads us to Thursday. Ole Miss, Vandy, Stanford, Louisville, USC, Iowa. So quieter Thursday. We're due for a more quiet Thursday.
It's been a very loud Thursday the last couple of weeks.
Yes. So I get ice, and North Carolina will be crippled. No school next week. Absolutely not. There's no chance there's school Monday, Tuesday. My wife thinks Wednesday. No, there's zero chance. My kid has school Wednesday. negative chance. You are getting snow.
Yeah. The forecasts are very varied. Like, if we get like 8 to 10 inches of snow, like, I don't know, schools might be closed Monday depending on the timing of it, but like could just be delayed. But then there's like some of the reports say like 20 inches of snow, and 20 inches of snow is a lot of
That's a lot
snow.
of snow.
So we shall see.
Do you have to shovel? Do you have a snowblower? Do you live in a complex where they do it for you?
We live in a complex, so they do like we have like a parking lot type situation out behind us. So it's like I live like on the beach. So it's like one side is sand in the ocean of our house, and then the other side is like a parking lot. So they do that. So we just are like responsible for shoveling like our deck and like the sidewalks so that we can get up to the parking lot. So not too.
If you are in the south of the United States, listen to me. Saturday night, I don't care if you get snow or sleet or freezing rain, before you go to bed, shovel your driveway. If you wake up Sunday thinking I'm going to shovel myself out and it's 10 degrees and there's an inch of freezing rain on the driveway, guess what you're not doing? Touching it.
Yeah.
It will not move for the next week because it's not going to get above freezing. Do yourself a favor. Do what you can Saturday night. You're welcome. With that note, hopefully you get to enjoy some basketball this weekend. If you are sitting there with nothing else to do because it's sleeting outside, settle in. Hopefully there are games. And guess what? We'll talk next week.